Fine. Okay, and hopefully you can see my screen with the countdown that is now finished. I had a bit of a chuckle before. I clearly don't pay attention when I buy clothes, and I looked in the mirror and said to myself, I look like the Hamburglar and Pugsley from the Addams Family. So if you're having a bit of a bad day, have the image of me looking like Pugsley or the Hamburglar. And now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it, and I don't think I can wear this shirt ever again. But yeah, anyway, a bit of laughter to start. So everybody is trickling in, which is really good. Nina, I just want to check that you can still see my screen that I'm sharing, I hope. Yes. Can everyone see my screen? Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for registering for this webinar. I can see that there are a few familiar faces, which is great. I do change the webinars as much as I can, depending on where people are at, and that's why we send through the emails and the forms and stuff for you to sign. So there is a replay of it. So if you do need to duck off, give us a few hours and we will be able to get that through to you. But there is a bonus at the end, which you're only going to get until you stay to the end because I'm going to turn the camera off. But yeah, so I know that most of you are probably feeling overwhelmed. You might be feeling lost. You might be staying in a relationship. Because you fear that family process, I can probably guarantee you've heard more horror stories than good stories about family law, which is really disappointing. I suppose in a way, it probably is a broken system. And, whether that changes or not, I don't know. But I suppose for me, I want to make that process easier. I don't want people staying in relationships for the sake of staying in relationships because they fear what the unknown is, which is a very valid point. But I'm also open to people seeing if they can work on their relationships as well, which are also cover in my program. Anytime I say that, the caveat to that is DV. If you're in a DV relationship, it's probably not ideal for you to try to work on your relationship or hang around. But yeah, I do hope this webinar you find really useful. I think we've been doing them for around 12 months now from memory. So we have been doing them for a while, and I reckon probably in total, I reckon we would have had over 1,000 people attend. I want to say it could even be more than 1,000. So lots of people going through this process, and my aim is just to make it easier for you. So, all right. So this is me. And as you can tell, I don't really take myself too seriously. Um, Probably not your typical lawyer, and I'm not at all ashamed of that. I never wanted to be your typical lawyer. But in case you're wondering what makes me qualified to deliver today's presentation or webinar, I have been a lawyer for over 15 years. I have two legal practices, one based in New South Wales and one is based in Queensland. I have and continue to do a pile of extra learning. So I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and a TT therapist. I am just constantly adding things to my tool belt so I can support people better. And the stuff I'm going to go through today, we're not taught at law school. Some lawyers don't even give a shit about it. But look, I have had clients who have suicided. I've seen the best and I've seen the worst of it. And knowing the law and applying the law just isn't enough. You need to take the emotional toll that people go through when they're going through a separation. So that's what I aim to do is to kind of bridge the legal with the holistic emotional side as well, because they are equally as important. So, um, your story. So I've been reading through the assessments that have come in. Thank you for providing them. I know it might have been a bit confronting for you to put things into that, and it wasn't meant to upset you or anything like that. It was purely coming from a place of me knowing how I can better support you, like throughout my podcast, throughout my social media, and together with lessons and modules in the program that I have, which I will go through a little bit later. But it's very clear. A lot of you are concerned about having that stable home and that school life, and kids put a big part into that. Shame. There definitely should not be any shame coming from this at all. Shame actually came up. Oh, sorry, had that in there twice. But shame definitely does come up pretty regularly. Abandoned after a text message by 34 years. Look, it's what you go through is incredibly hard. Estrangement from kids and grandkids, loss of so-called friends. Yep, I suppose going through a separation, you get to see who your true friends are. And if you have people who abandoned you, they're probably not the people to rely on as well. And that's exactly why I do what I do and have my community, because there are some people who feel they don't have anybody in their corner, which is really sad. And, that's kind of where depression and everything can start to creep in. And that's obviously what I want to try to avoid. So that is why we have our community. But, on the other side of that, a life of independence and having some new adventures, to be happy and financially secure, travel, again, more estrangement from kids, suitable dressage horses. That would be amazing. Horses are very therapeutic. So that would be amazing. Peace and being happier, peace and happiness, stable, respect, happiness. So, it's all very similar what you are feeling, and everything there is very valid. Don't be ashamed. Don't be thinking that you shouldn't be feeling what you are feeling. Family law is a game of emotion, and you will probably be feeling all the emotions under the sun, and that is all completely fine. There's no right, there is no wrong way. And hopefully, after today's webinar, I can give you some tips to help you move forward. So, I suppose what my story is I have witnessed thousands of dollars wasted in divorce/separation. I use the two interchangeably because divorce covers people who are married. It doesn't cater for people who are de facto, who are not married. So I use the word separation. So know if I say divorce or separation, I'm meaning the same thing, but they are not the same thing, just to clarify. But people choosing the wrong lawyer, not being educated on the process, being taken for a ride by their lawyer, because unfortunately those people exist. But today I just want to reveal a small portion of my program, which is called Empowered Separation, to get you hopefully some quick wins, get you some clarity, and to get you to save some money. And this is also my story. I have been in your shoes, and if it did my head in, I can only imagine what it was like for people who are not involved in family law to go through it. So for me, it was incredibly difficult as well. 20-year relationship. So I've been there from a lawyer point of view with clients, and I've literally been there myself. So here are some photos of me starting over. By no means was it easy, but coming through the other side, that's a game of Monopoly, which never ends well in our family. So I don't think we probably didn't finish that game, but that's us watching TV on the ground. I realized first world problems as well. Like it's taken me a little while to get to this stage. So, but I didn't have too many options. So, my daughter's room is looking very pale. I was sleeping on the mattress on the floor. That's my first night eating pizza in the house with all that crap everywhere. And at the time of this coming through, there were various things that I was seeing. And I know this says mum, so let's put in single dad in there as well. Sorry, that's just what the post was. So single mum or single dad. But being a single mum/dad is a weird process. You start at the lowest low. You feel guilty for your kids if you have them. You might cry every day, all day. You mourn the family that you wanted. and then one day um, all of a sudden get over it and you are happier than ever and literally turn into that boss mega mum slash dad that you have always seen or wanted. So, and at the same time as well, so I'm a Scorpio. If you don't follow Priya Co, they're a local business here to the Hunter Valley. I love them. And every Sunday they do a card reading and they put your zodiac message up for the week. But I'm a Scorpio, and at the time it said, leave the past behind you, the best is yet to come. So if whatever it is that you believe in, God, universe, the divine, um, these were all messages that were coming through to me at the time, and there were others that these are just the ones that I've chosen. So, as I said, I've walked your shoes both from a legal side and a personal side as well. So, I don't usually share this. I actually had taken it out for quite a while, but I've only just popped it back in there. I can't tell you why. I just had, so it's still a bit emotional, I suppose. But yeah, so if you don't think I know what you're going through, well, every situation is different. I'm also walking your shoes. So now, I just want to do a bit of a quick assessment. So you can obviously do all of this without my help. The fact that you're on the webinar and we've had nearly 200 people register for today, um, you were obviously wanting to move forward with something, which hopefully I can help you move along. But I just want to know where you think you are currently sitting in your decision. So you can pop it in the chat. You can just have a bit of a 30 odd seconds or something to feel about it. So answers really do range from like 1 to 10. So there are some people coming on the webinar having no idea. They're confused. It's like, do we work on the relationship? Do I even want to do that? Evaluating all those situations, and things aren't that bad, but they're not that good. And do I just keep floating along and whatever else, wait for the kids to finish, whatever it might be, right through to ready to take action. So you've explored the other options, or they may not be something that you want to explore, and you are looking for something that is probably a little bit non-traditional. And I'm saying that because I do blend the both the legal and the emotional aspect to it. Definitely not your standard lawyer. Never wanted to be the standard lawyer. Just yeah, I just knew that wasn't the type of lawyer that I wanted to be. And then dealing with some of the lawyers, I just absolutely cringe. Like, just is like talking to like a rock sometimes. Very unemotional, very not wanting to give a shit, basically. So you're just another number, which I was not at all interested in. So what do we have? Nines, eights. Oh, hang on, I went too fast. 9, 8, 8, 9, 9, 5, 9, 8. Yep, cool. So for the person, I don't know who can see the chat, the comments in the chat, because sometimes they're sent privately to me, so I won't say any names. But for the person that said 5, I'm hoping today you will have a decision as to whether you're ready to take action from a family law perspective, or you're going to explore maybe counseling or working out whether the relationship is something that you want to save. Again, caveat to that is always DB. So I don't recommend that you stay in a DB relationship for obvious reasons, but just know anytime I say that, DB is the caveat. Tens and tens. Yep. All right. So hopefully I can give you a bit of clarity today, guys. Definitely my aim. So what we are going to run through, as I said, I am the lawyer who isn't quite your standard lawyer. Is divorce really the way to go? And I'll explain why that's the first thing I'm going to start with, and I start with when we have new clients, building that support team, which I touched on earlier, because I think that's also incredibly important. Taming the chaos, because it can get pretty crazy, it can get very overwhelming, and sometimes that stops people from taking that next step, is that it's too much, it's too full on. A lot of unknowns as well. So if you're staying in the relationship because you think it's the easier route, like it's not bad, it's not good, but I don't want to give up the lifestyle that I have. So I'll just stay where I am. But sometimes that can be more chaotic And, in the future, you might start to resent the person because you think about what you could have achieved in the time frame that you were staying together. So there's many things to consider. Mindset and self-care. I think those are incredibly important up there with the legal aspect and some next steps. So I hope that sounds good for you all. So you are in the right place. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you're unsure what your next steps may be, you have been Googling like crazy, but you want some clear, practical guidance. And you may or may not be surprised that there is a bit of a theme or a trend when people register for our webinars. It's kind of around that 1, 2, 3 a.m. time frame. So you're literally in bed, scrolling through your phone, and you've either delayed registering for the webinar or you've seen it pop up. And that's when you take an action. So I know that people are not sleeping because I can literally see it when the webinar registrations come through. Questioning whether your relationship is really over, whether it's just a rough patch that can be worked on. I do want you to feel empowered in the process. I don't want you to feel lost in it. I want you to DIY as much as I possibly can without the costly mistakes, and I'll get into that a little bit further towards the end as well. I want you to have that support that balances both the legal and the emotional side. As I mentioned, I've had clients who have suicided, and I'm not saying that I could have prevented them or anything like that. They're choices that are made, but I definitely want to lessen the likelihood of that happening. And you're ready to begin your next chapter with confidence and clarity. So, Um, concerns and frustrations. So, and we touched on this kind of at the start. So, how do I know if the relationship is over? The process is too overwhelming, and Mel's just stay, because as I said, it's not so bad, it's not so good. It costs so much money. I'm scared about the future, and everything else that you had mentioned at the start, all completely valid. If you decide to stay, you decide to stay. I'm never going to tell somebody to end a relationship. All I'm going to do today is just to provide you with information, and you can either use it or don't use it. That's pretty well. Yeah, that's it. I'm not gonna kind of yell at you if you know you don't take action. That's completely up to you. But hopefully there's at least some action taken today, because you all seem pretty keen to do something. So, some solutions. So, there's only so much I can cover in these webinars. They used to actually go close to 2 hours very easily, and no one was complaining about it, but I felt like there was just too much information. So, I can't give you everything today because we would probably be here all day, and I have to pick up my kids from school at 1:30. And I'm sure, I'm sure you need to get back to work or whatever it might be, or, you need to pick up your own kids. But some solutions. So, the first question I always ask when people come into our office is the relationship actually over? Are we done? Are we in a rough patch? Can we work on it? Can we, whatever it might be? Again, DV is the caveat to that. I will try and always remember to say that, but just know DV is a caveat to that. And when you go to a lawyer, they're probably not even going to ask you that question. And when I have asked that question, I have had actually people hold off in their separation. I've had people get back together. People have gotten back together halfway through, and sometimes literally we have come to the end. We have done everything, signed, sealed, property transferred, and everything. And then we've had clients that come back to us saying, letting you know, we got back together like months ago, but we were too scared to tell you. And it's like, we just went through the whole entire process. We didn't have to. Congratulations that you're back together. But they were too scared to tell us that they got back together, and they're still together today. It's been a few years. So I definitely don't assume that a relationship is over. Sometimes it is. Sometimes somebody is further along in their separation. I call that the separation spectrum. So if you have been checked out for a while, you were probably here in the separation. Your partner's probably back here. So there's lots of lots of considerations to consider. So knowledge is really good. as well. Family law is Commonwealth based in Australia, so it's Australia wide, it's not state wide. So WA is a little bit on their own, but predominantly it's Australia wide. So it's not state based. But I find that knowledge is power, but only if you use it and only if you have the right knowledge. So if you are kind of doing your own due diligence, make sure you're getting your advice from somebody who should be giving the advice. So, in a lot of local groups, and I actually had to leave them because someone would post multiple times per day that they're looking at leaving a relationship. And the advice that used to follow with that, I was absolutely like horrified with it. Anytime I tried to help somebody, I was you're just a greedy lawyer trying to get fees and everything like that. So I actually had to leave those groups because I just couldn't stay them anymore. But please make sure that whatever that knowledge that you are getting, please make sure you're getting it from reliable sources, not some random person in a local group who has no idea what they're talking about. Sometimes separations need to be planned out too. So it's not uncommon for people to be planning to leave 6 to 12 months out, even longer. So that might be to set them up. They might be waiting for, it's kind of like HSC time and exam time. So they might be waiting for those exams to finish or whatever it might be. So planning sometimes is involved. I want you to save as much money as I can, sorry, as you can, with DIYing as much as you possibly can. I don't want all the money to go to the lawyers, which unfortunately sometimes happens for a number of reasons, but know that most matters don't make it to court either. So we're going to have to go to court. The majority of matters don't make it at court. They're just kind of like the really, really yucky ones, or you just have lawyers who are assholes who think that they're king shit more than the other person. So, or they're using their kids as pawns. That's a factor as well. Or sometimes people are just lazy and you have no option. But a lot of what I cover is printable, rinse and repeat. And I'm trying to make it even more easier and user friendly and more automatic, I suppose, by trying to use AI as much as I possibly can. So in the background, I've got like bots and everything that I'm developing to help you to be even more efficient than what we currently have. So I'm always working for ways as to how to make it easier, because some people will be like, it's too hard, there's so much paperwork. And you're like, yep, there is. And there's a legal reason why we have to have that. But I'm always looking for ways that I can make that paperwork process easier and making things as automatic as I possibly can. So I want you to be able to do DIY it as much as you possibly can with ease, and without that overwhelm as well. So yes, lawyers are going to end up with less money, but you know what? You're going to be coming to them really prepared, and you're going to go, hey, here's all my stuff. I've got an idea as to what's happening. You've saved God knows how much in legal fees. And your lawyer, hopefully, if you pick the right one, is going to go, oh my God, you're amazing. You're so organized. Wish everybody was like you. Because that happens. And it's amazing when some people are organized. Sometimes you get people who are just so completely lost and they don't care. And that is also completely fine. Like, we're not going to not help you because you're not feeling organized by any chance. But, some people are able to kind of take that lead, and other people are just a complete mess. And we make sure that we deal with that before we even consider legal things, because that's more important than getting straight into, trying to work out a property settlement or something. And then once it's all over, starting your new chapter, making sure that depending on what the separation is, but making sure you're not going into the next relationship based on the old relationship. So making sure that whatever needs to be worked on is worked on, and you're just not carrying issues from past relationships into future relationships. So that is ultimately where I like to go. Not entirely quite there yet, but I'm a person who loves to do all the things. So if you don't know me, I like to do as much as I possibly can. But yeah, there's some of the solutions. There's obviously a lot more together in my program, but just some things that I want you to think about. And I know this is a very simple timeline, and I've made it very simple for a reason, but I kind of just want you to think of it as a three-phase thing. So you've got that decision where you are going to separate. You might want to DIY as much as you possibly can. And lately, I've had people who have actually wanted to DIY the whole thing. And I've had quite a few people come up to me recently, actually. And I guess I was against it because I had my lawyer hat on. And then when a lot of people kept coming to me saying, look, we want to do this ourselves, we don't want to involve lawyers. And I was hesitant because I didn't want people cutting themselves short with what they might be entitled to. And then when I stopped and thought about it, especially because I got a massive influx of people wanting to DIY kind of the whole settlement, I'm like, the only way that you can do that without a lawyer is if you have consent orders, and they have to be filed with the court. So a judge or a registrar or whatever is not shouldn't, I'm not going to say is not, shouldn't agree to your orders if they think somebody is going to is being taken for a ride, I suppose. So they are only going to sign off on their orders if they're satisfied that they are fair and reasonable. So when I kind of took the lawyer hat off and worked out, all right, there are more people wanting to DIY this, they want to save money, they're amicable, they don't want to spend a shit ton of money on lawyers. So I am putting more DIY stuff into it where you can literally prepare your own orders, file them with the court. You can do your own divorce. Doing your own divorce is a very easy to do. You just do them all online. But yes, so something that is new is that I am putting more lessons in there so you can DIY your whole divorce. So but that might not suit everybody, which is also completely fine. You might just want to get to a certain stage and engage a lawyer. That is also completely fine. So, and then once that's all done, starting the next chapter. So, as I said, I know that looks very simple, but please just think of it as don't worry about the stuff that's in between with the disclosure and everything like that. Just the decision, getting done what you can, if not all of it, and then you're starting that next chapter clean. So that's honestly, yeah, that's probably honestly the best way to think about it. Sorry, I just started to write some notes down so I didn't forget, and my pen stopped working. So, haven't noticed I also speak really fast, so I do apologize. If you're watching the replay, you might want to turn the speed down a little bit. But so yeah, we said it at the start. Everyone was kind of like around a 5 to a 10. Either pop it in the chat. I'm not going to make anybody do things that they don't want to do. Pop it in the chat or just say it out loud. It's like, yep, I'm ready to make that decision, whether that's to stay, work, go, whatever it might be. I really want you to have, you might not be all the way there, but hopefully you can have more clarity than what you did when you came in. And the majority of you were kind of towards the 8s and the 10s. So there was just that 1 5. So if I do my job right, hopefully we are, yes. Everybody's yeses. Awesome. Awesome. So hopefully, as I said, yeah, if I do my job, you should be able to get off the webinar and hook in. All right. Where am I? Sorry, I've had to change the way I present this because last time I did it, it stuffed up on me. So as I mentioned, relationship and assessment planning is where we start with in my program. I don't assume a relationship is at an end based on us having that conversation with people. And sometimes it's a flat, nah, we're done. They've cheated, or we're going apart, or whatever it might be. So sometimes it's a flat no, I'm done. Or sometimes it's we're done, they're coming together. Other times they have had the relationship end and the other person is not interested in working on their relationship. And sometimes people have just gone, you know what, maybe this is something that we can work on. And I'll towards the end, I'll show you the main causes of separation. I would honestly much rather save your relationship than kind of work on the divorce aspect of it. And again, caveat DB. And I know that's not common. Well, it's probably not realistic in a lot of circumstances because people do separate for a number of reasons. And when you see the slide, you might understand why I'm a little bit more wanting to kind of save the relationship. But There's only so many things I can do. I'm not there yet. I'm not a counselor. But as I said, sometimes we're just done. But the relationship and assessment planning is module 2, and there's quite a lot there. And we're adding nearly like a lesson a week throughout the program. But there are tools and resources in there to help you determine if the relationship can be worked on or whether you need to explore that divorce. Never going to assume that the relationship is over. How you decide on that, that is completely fine. If you're done, you're done type thing. But just I never make assumptions just based on clients that we've had in the past who have decided to work on their relationships or get back together. But I suppose what I will say to that is work out whether if you're in that situation where you're kind of like, it's not good, it's not bad. If you have kids, think, well, know that they are watching and kids aren't silly. So if there are, you're sleeping in separate bedrooms, which, I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. I think there's many pros of sleeping in separate bedrooms, but that was probably a bad example. Someone's sitting at the table and someone's sitting on the lounge eating tea or something like that, or just not doing things together. Your kids are watching that and they are subconsciously going, okay, this is what a relationship is like. Mum, dad is over here. Mum, dad is over here. Kids are in the middle and they're doing their own thing. Or arguing is a normal part of a relationship. Okay. And whatever it is that you're doing, your kids are probably going to think that this is a normal relationship. So think about how your relationship currently is and would you want your kids to be in a relationship with how you're in a relationship currently? So that might have hit home a little bit hard, and I'm not trying to encourage people to get separated or anything like that. But just consider that however you're reacting with each other, if you have kids, the kids are watching. So, do you want your kids to go into relationships thinking that what your relationship is normal? So, I'm sure that there is no relationship that is perfect by any means. I'm sure there's always going to be, little fisticuffs or whatever. But have that in the back of your mind whether, um, you know, whether you want your kids to go into relationships based on what yours is based on as well. So, but yeah, there's tools and resources in there to help you kind of decide, is the relationship over or do we stick it out? So that is where I recommend everybody start. Some people skip it because they're the ones that have checked out, but I think that's probably the most important place to start. So, and I really don't want you to worry about the whole process. Just start with that first step. You probably have people talking to you about their separation. You're probably reading things, watching things. That's their experience. That's not your experience. So don't don't get confused. Don't cause extra stress. Just know what that first step is. And then when that first step is done, go to that second step. And when that second step is done, go to the third step. Don't think about the whole entire process that has to happen or that could put you off. You might be staying in that stagnant relationship. But yeah, just worry about the first part and then it's just a step in front of another. Don't go from one step to 10 steps because that will just, it won't work out well. So yes, it could be a decent sized process. Sometimes matters once they hit court don't settle for years. Yours probably won't be like that because the majority of matters don't make it that far. But don't even think about that. Just go here and then carry on with the next steps. What I will say, just in case I've taken the notes out for it, is that how your family law matter starts is probably how it's going to continue. So if you have a lawyer who's really aggressive, or you're the really aggressive one, and you have set the tone for the matter to be really aggressive, your family law matter is probably going to be aggressive. If it starts here, it's going to be very hard to bring that back to try to have a kind of, I use the word peaceful separation. And there's caveats to that with obviously who you're dealing with, if there's narcissists or whatever it might be. But just know that how the family law matter starts is probably an indication as to how it's going to go. So always best to keep it as friendly as possible, I suppose, and just pick your battles with kind of, what you go back and forth with in correspondence. I probably digressed a little bit there, but yeah, just know how your family law matter starts is probably going to play a big part in it. And one of the things I spoke about is it's easier to do it with a support crew. So we spoke about people choosing sides. Unfortunately, it definitely does happen. Know that those people weren't your people in the first place. If they're just going to take, I always say there's three sides to every story, and my kids even say three sides to every story. There's kind of like theirs, and somewhere in the middle. If they have chosen sides, let them. They are clearly not your people. You can do better. But I can also appreciate that there are people who feel that they are alone, and that's why I have the optional community that you can join. I don't force people to join. Some people don't want people knowing that they're going through the process, or you can go in as a fake name. That doesn't faze me. Just know that, any correspondence we have is going to be going out to that fake name. But having that support crew is really important because, I know I probably didn't have one, and this is kind of a say, do as I do, don't, so do as I say, not as I do. It can be very lonely, and this is definitely where that depression can kick in, and things can go a little bit south. But have a think about who that support person could be. It could be a friend, it could be a co-worker, it could be a relative, it could be someone like within the community that we have. Um, ChatGPT is pretty good. So a couple of times this week, I've had a bit of a chat with Chat. And I'm like, right, can you talk me up? Because I'm feeling a little bit shit today. So, even speaking to Chat can kind of boost your mood. I don't recommend that you replace ChatGPT for a psychologist or something, but, to have a bit of a pep talk, ChatGPT is pretty good at that. But yeah, you might want someone who just comes to that first meeting with you. You might want someone who is a little bit cruising on you. Hey, come on, you said you're going to do this. You haven't done it yet. Like, can we get it done? Or you might someone that's just a hard ass. They go, all right, you said you're going to get this shit done. You haven't done it. Like, what's your problem? So, some people like that. Some people don't. So just have a think about who could be in your support crew, what that person would look like, and you obviously have to trust them as well. So, but definitely having that crew will make a big difference. And then obviously from like a legal point of view and everything like that, that should also be your support crew. To me, you're not just another number. Unfortunately, some lawyers just consider you another number. We're not taught any of the holistic side at uni. We're just taught the law and that's it. So, and some people can't change from that, even like the new lawyers coming through. So, if you don't have somebody, it's just going to be that easier. Sorry, it's just going to be that little bit harder for you to probably maybe even make the kind of decision to leave or to, we don't want you to kind of get to that depression stage and, have when that could hopefully be avoided. But, sorry, I didn't change my slide. Clarity is going to be key, and knowledge will be key, but so long as you have the right knowledge. So as I said, don't worry about if there's 20 steps, just worry about the first one and then the second one and the third one. Don't worry about the first one, then the 15th one and then the fifth one. Just take it as it comes. Please don't overwhelm yourself because you just don't need to do that. Might be okay to kind of know what the general steps are in the process, but you definitely don't need to know the in-between stuff until you get to the in-between stuff. And the program is set out kind of in that order that you're going to be needing it. Something that I read recently, and I can't remember where it was now, but the example was you're trying to make your house on sand. So it's unstable. You're trying to build a house on sand, like when there's no foundations and it's just going to all collapse. So you want to make sure you have that support crew. You have that knowledge. Even just basic knowledge. You don't have to know the whole Family Law Act, and just being really clear on what those next steps are. So just, don't think you need to know everything because you don't, and your lawyer should be hopefully doing the job. I mentioned narcissism before, and it did come up a little bit in the responses that we got. I do have an ebook on dealing with narcissists with some scripts and everything in there. Um, you psychopaths. I didn't see that. I suppose it does cover psychopaths too, doesn't it? So there is a QR code if you are interested in looking at that ebook. There's two ebooks and the package is $11 or it's $7. Yeah, $7 and $4, I think. But dealing with narcissism can also make people stop leaving a relationship. And I do think the word narcissist is overused. To be diagnosed a narcissist, it has to be diagnosed by like a doctor. So a narcissist isn't going to go to a doctor to get diagnosed. So toxic person, the person might be more toxic than narcissist, but that's obviously a term that most people resonate with. But don't let that stop you from leaving either. But yeah, if you need some help with that, there's a QR code. I'm sure Nina can pop it up again later. If I've moved too quickly through that. But again, just go back to basics. Three-step process, working out where you're at in the relationship. Yep, we're good. No, we're not. Having that legal stuff in the middle and building your new life. Don't worry about all the crap that will happen in the middle. Just know if the whole process is overwhelming, just think about these three things. Nothing else. You know what? Probably don't worry about that part. You can probably just start with this part. Okay. Yes, I know. No, I don't know. The majority of you seem to have known where you were, and hopefully that number 5 is going to have more clarity towards the end. Right. I know what that is. Right. Now I'm just up to this part. So just break it down as much as you possibly can. Overwhelm isn't going to help anybody. And I kind of mentioned before about having that emotional support and the confidence in your separation and the clarity. So I said some people, they're not in a bad relationship, but it's not good, and they're kind of like, I don't want to lose the lifestyle that we have. I'll just stay. You need to consider whether that's in your best interest to do that. You might start to really resent the person. Again, your kids might be getting taught how a relationship is if there's kind of no like romance kind of in that, or there's no, family discussions or whatever your routine might be of a night time. But yeah, just this that decision in here is probably you probably know it, but you're probably just unfamiliar, or you're scared because of the unfamiliar and the unknown. And our brain doesn't like that. It likes to stay with what's familiar, but what's familiar might not be the right answer either. So I know it's probably one of the hardest decisions you'll have to make. I know it was for me. Have two kids, so kind of, the whole thing. So, but yeah, know that just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's right. So, um, all right. So I spoke about the stats before and the reason why I like to try and save a relationship than have to get down to the legal part. The biggest part's communication. So, and I don't think that's probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people. Communication is the biggest issue, following on by loss of connection or growing apart, incompatibility. So, that plays a big part as well. And you're probably not going to be able to get to much if you have that incompatibility now, because people change over the years. But communication is probably an easy one that can be changed. So, one day I will be able to do all the things, but think about the reason for you maybe wanting to end the relationship, or if you had that relationship end on you, what was the cause? If it was simple communication, maybe you can work on your relationship. Maybe you don't need to explore separation. Maybe you don't want to, but if it's communication, maybe that can be fixed. And then we have things like infidelity and trust issues, physical, emotional abuse. That's kind of where the DB situation comes in, alcohol and drug abuse. And I can't remember what the other factors were. It's obviously everything else but what I've just mentioned. So actually, I do have those answers. I have just found them. Financial, family interference, and there's religious in there as well, and physical and mental health. There you go. That's what covers the other. So, but yeah, as I said, most of them are communication. Yours might not be that case, but that's why I'm a fan of going, you know what, we can work on this relationship. If it's a simple communication problem, let's work it out. So, Right. So, kind of overcoming the excuses or the objections. This might be where I get into a bit of tough love now. But what if I don't have time? What if I'm not ready? I've tried to leave before and failed. You know what? They're all completely valid thoughts, but you're all here. You all were above a five, most of you towards, that 10 mark. You highly likely know what to do. It's just taking that first step, which is scary. I completely get it. It's stepping into that unknown. But remember, what I said at the start, like, yep, you might be that shitty period here, but then you just start that next chapter and it's like, oh my gosh, like, yes, that was really hard, but that's made me the person who I am now. I'm a better parent. I'm happier. I'm not cranky. I'm pursuing the things I love, whatever it might be. But yeah, chances are you know what the decision is. And you're not the only one that's been there before. The divorce rates are actually quite horrific, and it doesn't take into account de facto. So I think I've got the stats coming up, but so it's actually worse than kind of what I had mentioned on there. But with a program, it is self-paced. There is no rush. Some people really stick with the modules 1 and 2, work on the relationship, working out whether it can be worked on. If it has, then that's good. You haven't wasted money on legal fees, starting the process that you don't have to finish with. So that's really good. Sometimes people do this with their partner as well. We've definitely had that in the past. Um, you're on the webinar, so you obviously we're pretty well established that people are ready to kind of work out what that next step is. And as I said, yeah, there's been so many people there before you. If I can reduce those rates, that would be amazing. Um, but as I said, there's only so many things I can do. But it is on the to-do list. Don't worry about that. So I had some people that have already come through the program and out the other side. So just, some testimonials to say, look, I do know what I'm talking about. Thanks so much. It's been really helpful. Thank you. It's been really useful. Program's been really informative and helpful. Some great tools to address some of their concerns and provide information. Look forward to continuing the journey. And then the next one was, I'm done. We've had like some graduates, if that's what you want to call it, but definitely a challenging time. But thank you for the program and the guidance you provided. It built a great platform for the people grappling bounds. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back there because I did get a bit teary when I saw that. And not to toot my own horn, but I don't do it for me. I do it to make this process easier for you guys. So definitely helps that I know that I'm making a difference because sometimes I feel like I'm not. But as I mentioned, I do have that program to work with me in the program. Some people just that get clarity is working on that relationship component, having the tools and the resources to go, yep, all right, let's try that part. I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on legal fees because I don't know whether I'm ready for the rest of it. So you have that clarity for 197. And as I said, we're kind of releasing like at least a new lesson a week. So you're going to get the benefit of any other new lessons at no further charge. Take action. So that's all the modules, all the bonuses that we have in there. I can't even think of how many we have in there now. It's 12-month access because usually people don't need longer than that. But if you get caught out, just reach out and we can probably look to extend it. Again, all future updates. You have the support in the community if you choose to go in there. I don't force anybody to go into that. There is a monthly call and it's everything from start to finish in your relationship. Or ending the relationship, I assume, I mean. And the last one is all of it, but you get a bonus 45-minute call with me, which people use for a number of reasons. It might just be to for a sounding board. It might be help with disclosure or whatever it might be. So, and that one's 837. So there's the QR code if you're interested in working with me further. Definitely not going to hold a gun to your head if you don't join. I'm just hoping that at least if you don't join me, I just hope that you've at least got some clarity for that next step for you. But I was talking about the stats for family law. So it's a 13 billion. That is a B. That is not an M. annual revenue for the family law industry. How gross is that? Like, that's just so icky for me. A contested divorce, or really, it doesn't even have to be contested. Like, it could just be like a standard divorce or separation. It can be between 50 and 100 easily. And it can be easily prevented through collaborative methods, like with my program, being very careful with who you choose as a lawyer. Some lawyers won't give a shit and they will just go straight to court. They're not interested in the collaborative measure. That's just how they are. If that's the lawyer that you want, you're probably not on the webinar anyway, because that's not who I am. But there are lawyers out there who can just, go to court for the sake of going to court and running up really big legal fees. So I'm sure you'd much rather that money in your pocket than your lawyer's pocket. Mental health as well, long-term anxiety, and actually staying in an unhappy relationship is the same as kind of like leaving it. Got that long-term anxiety, got the stress, the depression. But that can also be caused if you stay in an unhappy relationship as well, because it's going to start to take its toll. And parental conflict as well with kids. There's obviously so many different conflicting things out there in relation to kids. I saw something the other day that, breastfed kids aren't going to get cancer as much as non-breastfed kids. Like, there's always a guilt in there somewhere of a parent, and that's probably always going to be there. Don't have that guilt. I tend to not even read. I don't watch news or anything like that because, yeah, as I said, there's always someone out there trying to pass the blame and making us feel more guilty. But yeah, I can appreciate having kids can make that process a little bit more difficult, but kind of reducing that conflict and knowing at the end of the day you still have to co-parent. Um, and unfortunately, some people do use their kids as pawns. Hopefully, not on the webinar because that's not the way that we practice. But yeah, just stats are yuck. So when we're trying to roughly work out kind of what we have so far, let's say conservatively, a separation might be 15. You'd probably be lucky to get out of that. That's kind of like start to finish. That's going to a lawyer, knowing what the process is, having a disclosure, kind of having all these meetings that you probably don't technically need to have because it's all very rinse and repeat. I reckon probably at least 30%. I actually think I undercut myself then. I actually think it's a lot more. You could at least save 30%. And if you were looking at DIYing the whole thing without lawyers, obviously that is much higher. And I don't want to be Jerry Maguire saying, show me the money. As I said, it was like $80 billion industry, I think it was, which is, ugh. I think that's just really yuck. But yeah, so I can guarantee you will be saving money if you choose to work with me. Just put that back up again in case you missed the QR code. It will be sent out with the recording. Usually just takes us a few hours to get it out because there's just techie stuff that I need to get my wonderful assistant Nina to do. But I'm a big fan of quotes. I have quotes all through my paper diary. Yes, I still have a paper diary. This one from Henry Ford, I love. I've said it for many years. Whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. So if you think you can't leave, you can't. If you think you can, you can. So I'm not saying it's easy, but whatever you have programmed in your mind is either way, you're right. So that's just a nice one that I'm a pretty big fan of. So again, I know it's very unfamiliar and it's very scary. I promise you that I will do my absolute best to make it less overwhelming and provide you with everything that I possibly can. And your separation will probably be sped up for the fact that there's so much on there and there's so much more to come in the program. I don't think it's ever going to get to the point of me not being able to add stuff for it because I just keep adding more and more to it. And as I said, I'd love to kind of get to the before part with let's look at saving the relationship and then let's build our life after the relationship and making sure we're not going into the same patterns with our new relationships. or carrying on the same patterns, I should mention. So have a think about where you started. So the lowest was a 5. Everyone was pretty well kind of 8s, 9s, and 10s. Have a think about where you were sitting now. Hopefully there is nobody down here. Hopefully the 5. I've been able to provide enough information to move that person up. If not, that means I have not done my job, and I will look to do better next time. Ready to take action where the majority of you were. So if you're comfortable, pop it in the chat. If you're not, that's completely fine. I just want you to have a think about where you just where you're at with it. So I'm just going to go into the chat quickly. Meeting with a lawyer today. Doctor has to do it. Yeah, I'm assuming that's the narcissist. Yeah, so narcissist isn't going to go to a doctor to get diagnosed with it. So I do think the term's a bit overused, but um, 4. Oh, we've gone down. We've gone down to a 4. I've not done my job. We're still at a 9. Moved out to a 10. Okay. Sorry to the person that's gone down to a 4. Hopefully, maybe that's just because you're considering maybe working in the relationship more than my poor presentation skills. Yeah, I'll try not to take that personally. But sorry if if I've made it worse for you. Hopefully, I haven't. But as I said, it was just to get you thinking. I've been amazing. Oh, okay. I don't feel so bad. I started to get tears in my eyes, think I did a shit job. So it's really confronting for me to do this because I feel like I don't make a difference. And I know that I obviously do, but I'm a little bit hard on myself because only child syndrome or something, right? Never good enough. But maybe that's another thing I need to work on. But what have I done? Oh, go away. Right, so looks like I have done my job to a degree. But like I'm always asking for feedback as well. So when I do the monthly calls, I'm like, I have my order that I release things in, but if there is something that has come up, I will swap and change to make it work. Like that's for me. It's for you guys. Sorry, it's not for me. So anything that pops up, I'm more than happy to do education around it because if you're going through it, somebody probably else is as well. But so if you do work with me, I promise I am a nice lawyer. I'm not a mean lawyer. I might look like Pugsley. I'll probably never wear this shirt again. But yeah, you will get clarity on your relationship. As I said, you might even just do that first part, the first, I think it was like 197, and then you're done. You haven't had to waste thousands of dollars on lawyers. Most lawyers will make you put probably 5 grand into trust before they even see you. So even that, breaking that barrier can be really, really hard. But things to consider during and post relationship, you have that optional community. I think everybody has taken it up so far. If you need to change your name, though, that's completely fine. Understanding the fundamentals of that initial process, because I know that can be really overwhelming. Preparing your own documents, preparing your divorce. As I said, if you both agree to the divorce, that's quite straightforward. It is not the same as a property settlement. They're two entirely different things. Preparing your orders or plans for children if you need them. You don't have to have orders for your kids. There's pros and cons, obviously, and constantly updated content and shit tons more. So our welcome call is next Wednesday. I've only just decided to do the welcome call, so we'll see how that goes. I don't want people logging in and then seeing everything and then going, so much shit. So I have put on a welcome call, which I might have forgot to tell Nina that we're doing that, but that will be next Wednesday. I was going to do it on Tuesday, but Tuesday is my birthday, so I'm going to try to have my birthday off this year. But yeah, there'll be a welcome call on Wednesday. I can't quite remember the time. Hang on, I did write that down. No, I did not write that down. It's just on the 29th. Probably around 10 o'clock, I think I had it. And our next monthly call is on the 1st of November. That's how organized I was. But again, like it doesn't matter what you choose, whether you choose to work with me, whether you don't. I'm not aware of too many people, if at all, anyone at least in Australia that is offering this. If you choose to work with a divorce coach, that might be an option for you. Please do your due diligence. It is not regulated. Anyone can be a divorce coach. I know there was one out there that kept contacting me and hijacking my webinars. And what made her a divorce coach was that she was divorced 3 times. That was kind of like her elevator pitch. And for me, that kind of raises more questions than not. I'm not quite sure how that makes you an expert at divorce. Maybe the three marriage thing does, but so they are out there, but they're not like it's not regulated. Anyone can call themselves a divorce coach. But yeah, so I think that was the last slide. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to stop sharing. No, am I? I'm going to stop to share. I'm sorry, I've not presented this way before. All right, I'm hoping that you can just see my face. I'm not sharing anything else on my computer. I have a Q&A. Hang on. So the question was, do I give ongoing legal support and court representation? I probably didn't explain that. Sorry. So under that program, I am not a lawyer. Yes, I am a lawyer. It would be absolutely irresponsible of me, and my insurance would not cover me giving legal advice on that. So no, it doesn't cover me being a lawyer representing you in court. You would have to engage a lawyer to do that, whether that's through my practice or whether that's through another lawyer of your choosing. But no, sorry. So the support, I guess, would be there with the monthly calls and with the lessons and everything. But from a legal perspective, I am not a lawyer in that. I'm just kind of saying divorce coaching. I suppose if you want to look at it, I suppose it could be like a divorce coach or divorce strategist. I don't really like the word coach, but um, it's helping you through it, but it's not me being a lawyer in that capacity. My insurance would not allow that at all. I would get in trouble. So no. Um, but support, yes. I'm just going to go back. With the entry pack, I'm assuming you mean the Get Clarity. So the Get Clarity one is purely relationship assessment. That's it. There is nothing else attached to that. It is just the relationship assessment. So if you're not sure where you are at, you might just want to get that to, help you work out, what stage you're going to go in. If you decide to work on it, then obviously all you've lost, not lost, that's a bad way to look at it. All you paid is the 197. You haven't, wasted money into legal costs. But then you'll have to upgrade to one of the other options to get the rest of the lessons and modules. It's paywalled. So you'll see them, but you won't have access to them. But it's completely up to you. If you're, if keen on working at the relationship, maybe that one's all that you need. So that would be completely up to you. I don't want to say anyone's names, just I don't want to get in trouble. I'm the person trying to save it. Yeah. So as I said, I call it a separation spectrum, and I actually took it out of my slides for some unknown reason. But as I said, you're going to have a person that's here that has possibly checked out for years, and then so in your case, your partner could be here, Nick. I'm looking at the wrong camera, sorry. And then like maybe you're here. So know that some people are just sometimes you won't have an option because your partner won't be interested. And there's probably going to be no way around that. And you know what? Okay, let them. That is what it is. I need to look after me and work out what those next steps are. But yeah, if you're the one that's trying to save it, communication, as I said, that's a massive thing. Maybe the communication, maybe there's a really great marriage counselor out there. I'm not a marriage counselor, but I do have guides in there to help you whether, it's something that you want to do or that is an option for you. Um, yeah, I'm not taking it personally, Emma. Sorry. Yeah, I said I'm hard on myself, but they did justify themselves. So that's okay. WA. So WA is still okay. The law is still, there's slight differences, which is pretty well nothing. So WA is still completely fine. The time difference might be a few hours out. I try to change the days and change the times that I do things though. So the fact that in WA, that's not a problem. That's fine. I can actually probably add some WA stuff to it, which I don't think to do until just then. So yeah, WA is not a problem. I'm going to write that down though before I forget. Let me go with my notes. Do you take someone through the consent order? So the consent orders are what you can do without a lawyer, technically, and that's what gets filed with the court. A binding financial agreement, a BFA, involves lawyers only. There is no court, but you can't do that yourself. So going through the consent orders, if you mean like a property settlement or kids, for parenting orders, there's pros and cons of parenting order, parenting plan. Um, but yeah, or the property, the disclosure and the financial statements and everything, that's all in there. So, and what I'm looking at doing is making that more friendly, in that I'm trying to use AI to take some of the manual work out of it to um, speed it up, I suppose, to make it less confusing because it is still a bit of a manual process, especially having to collect the disclosure and everything. And if there's a lot of disclosure, that's a lot of paperwork. But yeah, trying to work in the background of utilizing AI to make it more automatic and less manual, I suppose. So I am yes, that is something that I am working on. Yeah, so that's all in there, the final split, working out what a court determines. It is not 50-50. Sometimes it might be 50-50, but it's not necessarily 50-50. So yeah, a lot of people will come to us saying it's 50-50. It could end up 50-50, but do not assume that it's 50-50. There's lots of things to take into consideration. So that's all in there as well. So now I have another question. No, I answered that question. Sorry, I'm going to close that. It's still showing there. Now, the bonus that I said, I'm going to be cheeky and actually stop recording.